All right. So, sorry. Welcome everyone to this very special workshop or webinar, the 6 phases for monetizing for monetizing ChatGPT. So I'm going to put sustainably because that's really important. Now, if you just take a look at these 6 phases. In the meantime, I'm just going to share this webinar with people on Facebook. Whoops, sorry. It seems like there's a bit of a problem. Hold on just a minute, please. All right, okay, so we're back. So you can take a look at these 6 phases, and in the meantime, I'm just gonna share the YouTube video with other people in my Facebook group. Just give me a minute.
The death toll from Israel's bombardment of Gaza has...
And yeah, this 6 phases, these 6 phases are quite important because people will typically tend to have, a knee-jerk reaction, and they're going to try to make money with AI automation or any kind of the latest fad or the latest shiny object. This 6 phase from the so-called gurus online, but I think that it's very important to build a solid foundation, because what I'm going to be teaching you here is really a complete framework that you can build so that you can have a real business that is based on who you are, that is based on what makes you unique. And so it's going to be very important. So if you want, you can take out a notepad and take out a pencil or a pen, and you can follow along and you can take notes, because it's going to be a very hands-on workshop. And yeah, you have to do a lot of introspection. Making money with AI or making money with any tool, if you want to do it for a long time, it's not a matter of going online and taking a workshop from a guru and then you implement some kind of AI automation and you make money. It's not exactly like that. At least you're not going to be able to make money in a sustainable way. So that's what I discovered. You really have to do the homework, and the technical aspects are relatively easy. Like learning how to do prompt engineering. There's tons of resources online. You can learn to do anything. I have a friend who is learning options trading, and he's learning very quickly. He's going from knowledge level 0 to knowledge level 5. That's what he says, and I trust him. So he's about to get into options trading because he has the foundation in finance. He's an accredited investor, Jonathan. So he had to do the homework, right? He had to learn like finance, and I think he read over 50 books on finance. So he did his hard work, the homework. And so that's what you have to do. That you can't just get into AI, because AI is just a tool. It's an extremely powerful and smart tool, but still it is just a tool, and you're still the one who has to decide. You're the one who has to make all the critical decisions, right? So that's what we're going to explore. And the workshop that you're following right now, it's going to become a video course, but I just want to share with you in real time what I'm teaching, so that you can benefit before any other person. You can really learn the 6 steps or 6 phases, because each phase is really like a complete phase, and you have to do each phase properly if you're going to make money with AI. And sometimes I switch between 6 steps or 6 phases, and I'll explain to in a minute why I'm doing this. So I call it a step because a step is kind of like, when you go up a stairway, it's just a step, very quick. A phase is different. A phase is like you have to go through the phase. And actually, it's really 6 phases for making money with ChatGPT, but at the beginning, you want to treat it like a step. You want to go through the 6 steps as quickly as possible. It's not going to be perfect, but you just have to go through the 6 steps, and I'm going to provide examples of that shortly. So once you go through the 6 steps, you're going to have an intimate understanding of each of the steps. And after that, you can start over and you can treat each level as a phase, and you can fully explore. Each phase is like a video game. Actually, the 6 steps are like a video game, and we have 6 levels, and you have to know what is your level. So here you see the 6 phases, and it could be like 6 levels. So let's get started. I'm just gonna make a copy, and we can get started right away. So these are levels. So think of the first level, which is ignored by a lot of people, and this is the self-knowledge level. This is the clarity of purpose, and this is very important. And oftentimes, you don't know yourself, and this is why they have something called psychotherapy, where people are guided by a psychotherapist, and the psychotherapist is just listening to people. And so people will talk about their background, their past, oftentimes their traumas. I don't think that's a good idea, but anyways, that's what people do in psychotherapy. But here, we're not talking about psychotherapy. We're talking about, you have to clearly talk to yourself. I do that with my smartphone or with ChatGPT. I use Meta AI on my smartphone and also ChatGPT on my phone. But you can talk with a friend. But, talking with an AI assistant is great because you can talk anytime, and it's usually very polite, it's very supportive. But the point is that you have to know yourself. And this is the first level. So if you do this level incorrectly or insufficiently, the next few levels are not going to be very important, because you can be the best prompt engineer in the world, but you still have to provide the context. You have to provide ChatGPT with your intention, your purpose. Like, what is the purpose of your questions? What is the purpose of your project? Because what's happening oftentimes, and I even criticize ChatGPT for this, at one point ChatGPT was telling me, well, Peter, if you want to become like a billionaire or make $1 million in revenue, you have to do this, and then you have to do this, and then you have to do this. And I told ChatGPT, wait a minute, you're treating me like a robot. You think that just because you lay out the logical steps that I'm just going to do it? And so I chastised ChatGPT, and I told it, you have to understand human psychology and motivation. You can't just, give me the steps. You have to know myself, what, kind of person I am, what I like to do, what motivates me, and then you have to suggest steps that really are suited to my personality, that will give me what they call flow. Flow is this psychological state where you're so much into what you're doing that you experience flow, or you experience joy, you experience the reward. So you have to understand yourself. What gives me flow might give you pain, right? So one man's garbage is another man's treasure, kind of thing. So you have to understand yourself. You have to understand, what tasks you love to do, and, versus what you hate to do. So you have to tell ChatGPT, okay, don't tell me how to do this, because I don't like to do that, but I love to do this. And so ChatGPT can understand you. But most people, like when they do prompt engineering, most people don't mention anything personal about themselves. They don't even know the ocean framework in psychology, and we can go into that later on, but they call it the big 5 traits So you have to understand your psychological profile. And ChatGPT understands all of this. It's just that it's never going to ask you, hey, John, can you tell me more about yourself, your passion? It's never going to do that. And that's why this is such an important step. Your prompt engineering and the output you're getting from ChatGPT is always going to be restricted to the degree to which you know yourself and the clarity of your purpose. What is it that you want to achieve? And then it's going to guide you. So in other words, ChatGPT can be the best large language model in the world. And here I'm just going to put ChatGPT because it's used by 800 million people. It can keep improving all the time. It can be super smart. It can train you on options trading, value investing, entrepreneurship, creating information product. It's super smart. And you can be the best prompt engineer. But if you don't know yourself, then you're always going to be limited, and it's always going to give you output that somehow doesn't resonate with the way that you work. And I've done tons of prompts since it started, in December 2022. I'm really an expert in prompt engineering. But at one point I realized, okay, it's generating tons of valuable knowledge. Everything looks amazing, the business plan, the business system, the video courses, but somehow I don't resonate that much with it. I don't feel driven to implement its recommendation. And that's the output evaluation. I don't feel, it's just a bunch of text. It's extremely smart. It projects the impression of being super smart. So that's not the problem. The problem is not that ChatGPT is super smart and it's going to get smarter and smarter. The problem is that I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't know like the one project or the two projects that I'm really into. And then, when I began to explain what I really wanted to do. So for example, there's one project that I'm really into because I'm a Canadian patriot. I believe in Canada. Canada gave my family and I a second chance in 1975. So this is something I really believe in. It's a membership site for Canadians. It's called My Fellow Canadians. And 40 million Canadians will pay only like $10 a month, which is like Netflix. Or they can pay $30 for the whole year. So they save a lot of money. And they will have access to all of my digital content. So my ebooks, my courses, my videos, my audios, etc. And this is only for Canadians. So when I came up with this, which is really the culmination of my life so far in Canada since 1975, then I feel I am building something on a solid foundation. It's not possible for ChatGPT to have recommended this kind of thing. It could have recommended it, but this is self-knowledge. So what I know about myself, my path, my family, my upbringing in Montreal, Canada, how can ChatGPT know that? ChatGPT may have world knowledge in the form of language and semantics. It doesn't really have world knowledge because it's not embodied AI. But it does not have self-knowledge. It cannot know you better than you know yourself. So your self-knowledge, if your self-knowledge is low, then it's going to restrict the power of ChatGPT. So that's what I'm saying. You can learn anything from ChatGPT. You can learn options trading. You can learn entrepreneurship, real estate, buying and selling. But you're always going to be restricted by the extent to which you know yourself. So that's really a major phase, its foundation. Now, I'm not saying that you have to know everything about yourself before you can get to the phase number 2 and start prompting. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you have to be aware that this phase number 1 is like a huge box. And you have to start filling this box with your knowledge as much as possible. Ideally, you should write your biography. Just write your biography using ChatGPT, of course. Just talk to ChatGPT. Just talk, and ChatGPT is going to type out the details of your biography, but it's going to do so in a very organized manner. So it's going to be organized article, essays, etc. So you get to know yourself. You get to appreciate where you've been. So for example, in my case, my passion is calligraphy ever since I was 12. I'm a Canadian. I'm a I'm a former teacher, but also I actually developed courses, and I can sell, those courses as licenses to other teachers. I can make money that way. I don't have to teach myself. I'm into video courses. I love to live stream, which is what I'm doing right now. And bilingual. I used to teach email marketing. I used to teach project management. So I'm an expert in those fields. I used to teach online marketing research. Of course, I'm a patriot. So just write the keywords that represent who you are. So you don't have to write a whole essay. Like, just write maybe 30 or 50 keywords that represent who you are. And just by writing down those 30 or 50 keywords, right away you're going to differentiate yourself from the other users of ChatGPT. So when ChatGPT sees those keywords in your prompts, it will trigger it to think in a certain way. You can even go beyond that. You can say, always make sure to consider those keywords about myself when you write answers. So that's like an instruction. And so the answers you get from ChatGPT is going to be uniquely focused on your keywords. And your keywords can, you can be honest. Even if OpenAI has access to your private conversations, this is not something they can harm you with. You can say something like, I'm lazy. Let's say I'm a stay-at-home mom and I don't like to work hard or too much, which is fine. You're being honest. A lot of people, including myself, I don't want to work that hard. I think that work is for horses. I think that human beings are meant to be on this planet to have fun, to have adventure, to grow emotionally. We're not meant to spend like 40 hours per week and then 40 years of our short life, working for somebody else. Like, if I was working hard for myself, maybe, but working hard for somebody else, I find that this is really stupid. I'm sorry, but I was stupid before June 2000, and so that's 25 years ago. And suddenly I woke up, I said, you know what, I have the best boss, I have the best workplace, the best co-workers, but this is really stupid. I'm not going to work hard 40 hours and spend the next 40 years working for somebody else. I'm smarter than this. So that's really how I feel. I feel that work is for horses. I don't want to work. So I want to tell ChatGPT, look, you're not going to give me a lot of work to do. When I ask you something, you have to make it so easy and so obvious for me to do. Got it? So, well, okay, don't use that kind of abusive language, but you have to be very clear. ChatGPT will obey your instructions, but you have to know yourself. You have to know what you hate to do and what you love to do. Because if you don't mention all of these things about you, and you can be totally honest, nobody's going to read your answers or your prompts. If you're not honest, then ChatGPT is going to treat you just like everybody else, just like any ordinary person out there, and therefore the output from ChatGPT is going to be very generic. It's just going to do something like, Peter, if you want to make $1 million, you have to create a minimum viable product, you have to create a prototype, you have to acquire users, the typical thing that you find on YouTube. You don't need ChatGPT for that. But it's not customized to me. Like, for example, I was talking to a friend and he was suggesting, do the minimum viable product. I don't want to do that. That sounds like a lot of work. That's like the lean startup approach where you're creating a minimum viable product and then you acquire 1,000 users. No, that sounds like too much work. Give me something easier and better. And ChatGPT can do that for you. So you have to be very clear. Like, if you don't like a particular approach, just be very clear about it. And that's why, by the way, I came up with the idea of my fellow Canadians. I want to capture 40 million Canadians in one fell swoop. Okay, I don't want to do the MVP. I want to create my fellow Canadians. I charge $10 per month, and I tell the 40 million Canadians, I'm going to go through Facebook, YouTube. Hey, you're Canadian, you have access to my hard work in the last 20 years. Take it or leave it, but this is for you. I care about you, but you have to care about yourself enough to invest $10 a month, or if you want to save money, $30 a year. So that's what I want to do. There's no minimum viable product. I'm not going to go through the typical entrepreneurial path in Silicon Valley and work like 80 hours a week. No, that's not for me. I'm done. So you have to be clear. You have to tell ChatGPT, MVP, it's not for me. You have to tell ChatGPT, read carefully my 50 words so you understand what I love to do, what I hate to do, and do not recommend to me something I hate to do. So you have to be very clear. So that's your homework. And to make it easy or easier for you to develop self-knowledge, I'm going to maybe set up a questionnaire. Maybe it's going to be a web application. And once you have those 50 keywords, let's put 50, let's be like ambitious, 50 keywords that describe who you are. Like in my case, calligraphy is definitely a keyword. Video courses is a keyword. Live streaming, I love to live stream, it's a keyword. So once you have those 50 keywords, you're going to be able to use those 50 keywords all the time whenever you are doing your prompts. Okay, so that's your homework. And again, this is not something that ChatGPT will recommend that you do. It will never recommend that you do this homework. And even the gurus out there who may be very smart, they're quick learners and they're adopting AI automation and they're making tons of money, which is great for them. I love that. But when they give you a workshop on AI automation using MCP or N8N, etc., they're not going to say, you should do introspection to know yourself, because they know that this is really hard and they cannot help you with that. This is something that you have to do on your own. You might not do it perfectly, but just come up with 50 keywords. That's just a start. Just come up with 50 keywords that describe who you are, and you're going to be so ahead of most people who neglect this phase number 1, and therefore they're going to go straight to ChatGPT. They're going to learn how to do prompt and they get a lot of output, but it's not really aligned with who they are, and eventually they're going to fail. They're going to learn how to do something from ChatGPT. They're going to be impressed by the output. They're going to take action. They're going to get some business results. But after a while, you know what? Money is just money. There are so many ways to make money. And they're going to realize, okay, I'm making good money, but what is life all about? And then they still have to go back to who am I and what is my purpose? They always have to go back. Everybody does that, including Bill Gates. Made a lot of money and suddenly, like, who am I? He wants to become a philanthropist. Good for him. He wants to help the world. Good for Bill. But everybody does that. We are all successful, and then we go back to who am I really? What is my purpose? What is my mission on this planet? So why not start there? Start there so that you don't have to go through all of this and you have to redo the work over again. But of course, it's up to you. You can feel that, Peter, self-knowledge is too hard. I'm just going to start playing with ChatGPT and we'll see what comes out of it. And that's fine. You can play with prompt engineering. There are so many ebooks. And I also sell, of course, a Google Sheet of $10 for 200 prompts. So you don't have to work so hard. I wrote those 200 prompts for you. And once you buy it for $10, you can resell it to anyone at any price and you can pocket all the profits. So if you want to make money, this is the fastest way for you to make money. You just resell my 200 prompts, which come in the form of a Google Sheet. So it's super easy for you to make a copy to your Google Drive and you own this Google Sheet. You can modify it. You can include your own prompts. So for example, let's say you're a coach. You can select the prompts that are related to coaching and you're going to be able to create a new product called ChatGPT prompts for coaches. So you can actually, use my 200 prompts and create a new product. So let's say your new product is called, it's not going to be 200 prompts because you have to select the prompts that are relevant to your coaching business, right? So maybe it's going to be 50 prompts for coaches or for creating a coaching business. So these are prompts that you are using yourself. But since you know that these prompts are very good, you might as well sell those prompts. And you sell those prompts for $20 and so on and so forth. So, I really encourage you, if you want to make quick money, just resell, just buy my 200 prompts and resell them for $10. I make it very low price here because I really want people to make money quickly. I don't want people to spend too much money. Just have something to sell. I think that's the reason why so many people are not benefiting from the internet. They just don't have a product to sell. So here I'm giving you for $10 a Google Sheet that you can resell for the rest of your life. You can improve it. I'm going to improve it also. So once you buy at $10, you're going to get my updated Google Sheet all the time. So in the future, you might be able to sell it for $50 because it's so detailed. It has so many explanations. I'm going to put all my video courses inside of this Google Sheet as links. So the value is just going to be incredible. So you should buy it right now for only $10. All right, enough of that sales pitch. So you can do prompt engineering. You can go straight into it. Forget about your personality, and that's fine. And then you use ChatGPT. You can play with Claude. You can play with Base 44. You can play with Replit if you're an experienced coder, or Cursor. You can play with Manus. You can play with DeepSeek. I have the DeepSeek open source model on my computer. Very powerful. There's no censorship. I can ask it anything. There's no censorship. So I've played with all of this. I've played with output.
That sounds like a powerful and versatile Google Sheet you are developing. It's interesting how you're using it as a central hub for all your resources.
Sorry, somehow my phone Google got activated by my voice. So I've done all of this. I had some business results by selling my $210 prompts, and also I've developed video courses and ebooks, and I've been selling, and making money. But over time I realized that what is it that I want to be remembered for? What is it that people, especially in Canada, can rely on me for? And that's when I developed, my fellow Canadians. Think about, at the end of your life, what do you want to be remembered for? Do you want to be remembered for someone who used AI to make a lot of money for himself, who used AI automation, or do you want to be remembered for someone who had a mission, who had values, and who was focused on serving other people? That's my case. So my fellow Canadians somehow became my central project. I have other little projects too, like I have the Open Digital University, which is kind of like my fellow Canadians, but it's for the world. It's for non-Canadians as well. And it's probably going to be like $10 a month as well, or $30 a year, probably more expensive, but that's another project. Another project I have, which I totally believe in, is calligraphy for everyone, and especially for kids, So I have those 3 projects that are dear to my heart. So that's what I'm focusing on. But 80% of my time is my fellow Canadians. So anyway, enough about me. What are the 50 keywords that define you? In my case, I might even put here, Montreal. I live and work in Montreal. I might put, I have 21,100 connections on LinkedIn. And this differentiates me from a lot of people, because most people have like less than 1,000 connections. I have like over 20,000. So there must be something I can do with that, with all those people, right? There must be a way I can serve them. So come up with 50 words that describe yourself. And after that, you can learn prompt engineering. We're going to get into that. It's going to be a whole webinar. But again, like on YouTube, on Google, there's tons of people who will help you to write the correct prompt. And then you have to choose the right large language model. Like before Base 44 came along, I used to use ChatGPT and Claude, which is a little bit better than ChatGPT for programming. And then I would have to take the Python code and put it in my GitHub and link it to Streamlit. So it was a lot of manual work. With Base 44, it's amazing. Base 44, you're going to write a prompt, and it's going to host the web application for you, and it's free to play with. But eventually, you don't have enough credit, so you have to pay something like $16. I don't know if it's US, probably US, $16 a month for the base plan. And so you pay only $16 per month, and you can create tons of software programs that you can charge people for. So that's really something I'm going to explore, because I really want to create, software programs. And then you do the output evaluation. In other words, you check out the quality of the output. And output evaluation for coding, it's very easy. You run the code. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And that's what I used to do with Claude and ChatGPT. I would run it on my machine, my Python IDE, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, I get ChatGPT or Claude to correct it. But with Base 44, when it doesn't work, it will correct itself, which is amazing. Coding evaluation is easy, but if you're, let's say you're learning options trading, how do you know that whatever it's teaching you is good? You don't really know, because you're not an options trader. So in that case, it's a little bit more difficult to evaluate. However, if you're an options trader, then it's easy to evaluate, because you can, from your own experience, you can see clearly that this output by ChatGPT is good, or it's not good, or it's not complete. So for example, I used to teach email marketing, and so for me to evaluate the email marketing advice by ChatGPT, it's pretty easy for me. I can see all the holes in its recommendations. So what's really important to understand when it comes to output evaluation is something I'm going to describe as consensus knowledge. And this is very important to understand, because you have to be careful. So let's say that you want to learn options trading, and your level is, let's say, 0. You don't know anything. And the level of ChatGPT is, let's say, it's 10. And so obviously you're going to be impressed, and you're going to go from level 1 to level 2, and then 3, 4, 5. And you're still going to be impressed because ChatGPT is level 10. But let's say there's another guy who is an options trader, somebody, I don't know, like George Soros, the billionaire. So let's say he's level 20. He's going to look at the output of ChatGPT, which is level 10, and he's going to see all the holes right away, because he has superior knowledge based on actual experience. So you have to understand that ChatGPT has consensus knowledge. So in a way, it's like the average IQ of all the people who publish on a particular topic. So just the fact that they're publishing something online, they're already superior to most people who don't publish. So it's the average IQ. So don't be too impressed, because you might think that ChatGPT is very smart for options trading or any topic, email marketing, project management. It's level 10. It's very smart because you are at a lower level. But, for people who are experts in their domain, that's just average. You got to go beyond that. So that's what output evaluation is. But ultimately, whether the output is good or bad, you don't really know until you implement it, right? So this is phase number 4, but you actually have to go to phase number 5 and you implement the recommendations. And this is where ChatGPT is failing. It's not a robot, so it doesn't have agency. It cannot implement what it knows. It relies on you to implement the plans and recommendations. So this is likely to be the constraint for most people, because one thing I discovered is that, definitely true for me, I don't know if it's true for you, but I'm going to put it here because it's so important. What stops people from succeeding is not that they don't know what to do, but that they can get themselves to do what they must do. In other words, it's not knowledge, especially in today's age of artificial intelligence. It can give you all the knowledge that you want, that you need, in different formats, in step by step or big steps. So it's not really that they don't know. eventually you will know what you have to do. Like Tony Robbins even recommends, and he's been doing this since the 1980s, you look at what successful people do in your field and you model their behavior. In other words, you do exactly what they're doing. So it's not about not knowing what to do. You can copy other people. You know what you have to do. People who want to lose weight, well, do intermittent fasting like I did. I lost nearly 20 pounds. You want to grow your muscles, go to the gym. People know. You want to stop smoking, stop smoking. It's just that people cannot get themselves to do, they cannot motivate themselves. Motivation is even a too weak a word. They cannot, this is very advanced and it's a whole new workshop, but I'm just going to mention it briefly. They cannot create non-freedom. Non-freedom, just to give you a brief explanation, because it's really related to action. And action, just going to put it here, implies non-action on unnecessary tasks. A lot of times people do not take action because they are already taking action on what doesn't need to be done. So first of all, you have to stop doing what you don't have to do. You have to stop because you only have 24 hours in the day. So if you stop doing the gossiping on the phone, you stop scrolling on TikTok, you stop watching Joe Rogan podcasts which last for hours and hours, you stop binge watching Netflix. Well, I do on Prime Video from time to time, but they tend to be good TV series like Downton Abbey, etc. But you have to stop doing what you don't have to do. You have to stop doing what is not related to your goals. A lot of people spend a lot of time on their smartphone because they go everywhere with their smartphone, even to the bathroom. Sorry for the visual. And their phone is just wasting their time. So you have to put down your phone and think, do I really have to do that? And then, you eliminate the unnecessary tasks, and then you have a lot of time to do the necessary actions. So anyways, suppose that you have the time. Why can't you do what you have to do? And that's because your environment is badly designed. So you have to design your environment so that you are reminded, or you are even forced to do what you have to do. So here's an example of non-freedom. You set up a contract with a friend that you're both going to go to the gym, let's say, every day, 9 to 10. And you actually write down the contract. If one is missing the appointment, unless it's a medical procedure or, you got into a car crash or something, if one is missing, then he pays $100 to the other. And this is really a contract. So you're each going to coach and monitor each other. And you don't even have to go to the gym together, but you have to be honest. If you tell the other person, let's say Susan, John is telling Susan, I'm sorry, I can't go to the gym. Susan will say, well, thank you very much, John. Please send me $100. So you have to get into a contract, and this will force you to do what you have to do. And sometimes you can have a contract with yourself, like, every day, almost every day, I'm live streaming and I'm teaching something that I find valuable every day. So I'm forcing myself to teach every day because I'm creating a lot of content which can become video courses, and I can generate passive income from that. So non-freedom is really like a contract. There are 8 ways to create non-freedom, but I'm gonna cover them in a future workshop. But basically the 8 ways to create non-freedom, in other words, a forcing function that forces you to do what you have to do. Reputation, you can just announce to your Facebook friends, from now on I'm going to do this, I'm not going to do that anymore. So just announce it to people. Then it's going to be harder for you to backtrack and rescind your commitment. So number 2, like I said, enter into a contract. Number 3, work as part of a team. Number 4, there are 5 others. I'm not going to get into them, but there are ways for you to create non-freedoms or forcing functions. A forcing function is basically something that forces you to do what you have to do. Okay, you can read more about it online. So this is where you have to take massive action, like not just a little bit of action. You have to go all in, and you're going to go all in if it's part of your mission, right? So you see, everything is related. If my mission is my fellow Canadians, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to knock on the doors of my neighbors. I'm going to go all in my Facebook groups, LinkedIn, email. I'm going to tell everyone, hey, if you're Canadians, please join for $10. I'm going to help you to succeed in life. You have to go all in. And so that's what massive and consistent means every day. That's what it's all about. So massive action. You can have the best ChatGPT or language models in the world. They're going to give you tons of, valuable advice, business plans, etc. But you have to take action. Same thing with our friend who's into options trading. He can get the best options trading education, but at some point he has to put in the money. You have to buy options, right? An option is just the right to buy or resell, the right to buy or sell stock at a certain price within a limited time. So he still has to put in the money. And in your case, it's not going to be options trading, but you want to launch a product, a membership site, you have to invest money. Like what I recommended earlier, you got to spend $10 to get my Google Sheet. You cannot try to get it for free. It's not free. I spent like days creating that Google Sheet of 200 prompts. I'm not going to give it away for free. And so you have to invest $10, which is nothing. But if you're not even willing to invest $10 to have a Google Sheet that you can resell to people online, we're talking about millions of people, and you get 100% of the profits. If you're not even willing to invest $10, then you're not serious. And ChatGPT is not going to be able to help you because you are afraid of losing money. You might lose $10. Of course, you might lose this $10 because you don't know how to resell. Even if I'm going to coach you, you might lose $10, but $10 is the maximum that you can lose. But if you don't go for that, if you don't go and you say no, then you're potentially losing thousands of dollars. So you got to be clear about the cost of inaction. And here we're talking about courage. It's not just taking action. You have to have the courage to invest in yourself, and invest in assets that you can monetize. So making money from AI, even if ChatGPT is free at a certain level, if you want to go beyond, you have to pay $20 a month. But even though ChatGPT is free, you have to invest in your business education. You have to maybe get a coach. You have to spend $10 so that you have a digital product to sell. If you don't have anything to sell, you can take action all you want. You're not going to make money. And so here is where we talk about courage. You've got to have the courage to take action, the courage to face failure. And trust me, you will fail. You will fail again and again, but you have to keep going because this is what you want to do, right? It's self-knowledge. It's your mission. You're going to face rejection, which is nothing. A lot of people, adults, are afraid of rejection, which I find ridiculous. Why are you afraid of rejection? It's just feedback. So every time somebody says no to you, you learn a little bit about why they say no and you improve. It's just feedback. Okay? Rejection, failure is just feedback. You need to have the feedback in order to improve. And that brings us to the next phase, which is number 6. The results are not going to be good at the beginning. You're going to fail like everybody. Like when you first learn how to ride a bike or how to walk, you fell flat on your face. You fail, rejected. Even with ChatGPT by your side, the marketplace is very chaotic. It's very competitive. And then one day, you meet with success. And this is when you should celebrate, because after that, once you've succeeded, you get one customer. After that, you get, let's say you sell my Google Sheet. You get $10 from that customer and suddenly you're super confident. It's not the $10, which is not a lot of money, right, for most people. It's the fact that, you look at that person. For example, this might not be the case, but you look at her, she's a woman and she's 50 years old. Okay, so you have an idea of the kind of people who will buy this Google Sheet. I'm just saying it like, it might not be true. But you notice that it's a woman, and from her LinkedIn profile, she's 50 plus, and let's say she's a non-professional. Again, I'm just speculating here. This might totally be untrue, but just pay attention to the person who buys your $10 prompts. This woman has heard of ChatGPT and she wants to get into the game, but she doesn't have time to learn prompt engineering. She just wants the prompts to be written for her, and she wants to make money. And by the way, this is something you have to remember. Put it on your fridge door, okay? To make money with AI, remember, okay? Because you can create all kinds of AI-based products. Remember that people want to be lazier, so they want to do less work and richer, and they want to make more money. It may sound like a paradox, but it's not. Like Steve Jobs has proven that. He makes it so easy for lazy people. They don't have to learn how to use computers, which used to be like for geeks, like Bill Gates, people like him. I love Bill Gates, but computers were very difficult to use, but Steve Jobs made it so easy, and people can get richer because they can be more creative with their Macintosh. Same thing with Tesla, like Elon Musk doesn't even want people to drive. He wants people to be driven by Tesla, because driving can be stressful, right? So, people want to be lazier and richer. They want to make money the easy way. They want passive income. And so always remember that. So anyways, to go back to our woman here who's over 50, non-professional, meaning that she could be a secretary, she could be a sales clerk in a retail store. She's not a office worker. Again, I'm just speculating. So once you realize that this is your market and you know how to talk to this kind of person, and then you just target this kind of person, and you're making $10 every time from this particular niche, women over 50, and you can even go on Facebook ads, and you can target this kind of demographic. The gender is female, and the age is over 50, and she's non-professional, and so on and so forth. So that's the way that success happens. It's very unlikely that you start to sell my Google Sheet even for $10 and it's resellable. It's unlikely that you're going to succeed right away and you send me a thank you note. Hey, thank you, Peter. I'm making hundreds of dollars from your $10 Google Sheet. It's very unlikely. So you have to expect to fail because it's part of the experiment. It's part of the journey. Okay. There's a lot of people who will fail, when they try to sell the $10 Google Sheet, and after they fail twice, they go, you know what, Peter, this is too much hard work. I'm giving up. So you have to have some kind of resilience. This is very important. You have to have resilience. You have to stick to it. Nothing worthwhile has been done within a day or two. You got to stick to it for days. You have to keep on doing it. That's how you tell the universe that you really want to make money. You really want to get rich from this $10 Google Sheet. And, it may seem like it's just $10, but that's not the main benefit that you're getting. The main benefit is not that you're getting $10 from this woman. The main benefit is that you're breaking into the vast field of digital marketing, right? Because you're reselling now, but later on you can become an affiliate. You can create your own info products or Google Sheet. You create a version. You can, go into social media. You can learn sales funnel, and now you're motivated to learn all of this, which can be learned online because you're making money. So this is the easiest way to break into digital marketing. All of my digital marketing students who have paid like $27,000, they're not making money. So you have an advantage over them. They may know a lot about digital marketing, but they're not making money. And so, hold on, I have a phone here. Okay, I gotta go because my sister is calling. But so those are the 6 phases, but like I said, your homework is really to do phase number 1, self-knowledge. So I'm going to talk more about those 6 phases, but from my study of ChatGPT ever since it started, and from my playing around, I created video games, tons of video games on the phone. I created web applications, software programs in Python. I don't even know how to program in Python. I've created tons of stuff, and being a talented teacher and course developer, I created this framework which is going to become a video course selling for $100, and it includes coaching by Zoom or Messenger. And the purpose of this framework is to help you. Like, this is a very comprehensive framework that goes from knowing yourself to making a whole bunch of money. And I call it the I Clear so that you remember. Okay, I Clear here. It's a brilliant acronym because when you talk to your friends, when you go online, when you look at what's being done you can, or what is being taught, you can see that, hey, this YouTuber is teaching me which language model to use. He's helping me to differentiate between different business models. Or this expert is teaching me how to evaluate the objective output of ChatGPT. This coach is teaching me how to, take massive action. And this business consultant is teaching me how to optimize results. And this guy, Peter, is teaching me how to get to know myself. And, I want to share with you maybe in a future live stream that I gave a $10,000 seminar at McGill University to teach students how to achieve self-knowledge. So I'm going to share that with you. Or you can say, this YouTuber or this teacher helps me with how to write commands. So I call it commands because you're actually the boss. You're commanding ChatGPT. So, prompt engineering, can be learned online. So there you go, guys. It's a complete, comprehensive, and detailed framework to help you to structure your thinking and your actions and your behavior so that you can make money from ChatGPT. All right.